Hello, ladies. So in this chapter of Dr. Stone, we finally got to see the fight between Kinro and Magma, and I was really looking forward to this chapter, and after reading it through and through, I am very pleased with how it turned out. So let's just address the whole thing with Suika at the beginning first, because it's not really the focus of the chapter, but also because Suika does play a major role later on in the chapter, so just leaving it out might confuse some people who may not have read this chapter yet. In the last chapter, Senku and the others learned that this old geezer Mantle, I think his name was, had done something to Suika and to try and make sure Kohaku wouldn't make it to her match in time. Now, we did see in the first panels of this week's chapter that it was indeed a trap, or whatever you want to call it. Mantle tied Suika to a tree, hoping she wouldn't get free on her own, but we know Suika, she's fast and slippery. Do not underestimate the speed lolly of Dr. Stone. She can do some crazy stuff. Maybe not combat wise, but in the case of this chapter, she managed to curl up into a ball inside of her helmet by twisting her body, and it's one of her signature moves for high mobility, which is probably why it was able to bypass the ropes that was holding her in place so easily. I mean, from a realistic standpoint, maybe it wouldn't be possible, but this is a manga we're talking about, so I'll let it fly. I mean, it's not exactly a major plot point that's being twisted into what a seasoned veteran would consider an ass pull. And so obviously she makes it back to the tournament in no time, but Kohaku's already gone to look for her, so she's not quite back yet, which would have some complications. But the thing is that Kohaku only wanted to prevent people like Magma from becoming her sister's husband, so it's not exactly a problem no matter how you look at it, I think, unless this Mantle guy or the third and final person not part of Senku's gang is so strong that they can defeat Kinro or Kohaku, which I doubt. I mean, Mantle was working for Magma sort of, so he's obviously not going to be stronger than he was. That's just common sense, I think. You don't typically work for someone who's weaker than yourself, at least not in a society like the one they are living in, which is basically the Stone Age mentality that strength is everything. The last guy might be of some issues. I don't recognize this man, so he's probably someone brand new. I mean, I'm sure he has a confirmed name because some time ago there was a chapter with every villager listed and their names, but I do not remember what chapter it was, so for now I'll consider him unnamed. So anyway, the fight between Magma and Kinro is obviously what this chapter is about. Pretty much the whole chapter is just them getting fresh with each other, and you know, in the past Magma was considered the stronger of the two, and I'm guessing he's beating Kinro in the past. It may have been mentioned in a past chapter, but I can't really recall everything, so I'll assume it was mentioned. The audience is very confident that Magma is going to end up on top, which is not a surprise if they have in fact fought in the past and he probably overwhelmed Kinro, but in this fight we see a completely different side to Kinro, and even Magma points it out that, hell Kinro, you've become a lot stronger than in the past, and that is of course partially because of Kohaku's training with Kinro. They specifically prepared to fight Magma, which gave them an edge because Kohaku has beaten Magma in the past where Kinro failed to do it, and so her advice from that time became very valuable lessons to this chapter. Even when his eyes are still seeing very badly, he is able to keep up with Magma to some extent, but the moment too much distance was put between them, Kinro ran into a problem, which was how far is it between him and Magma. It's something that can mean the difference between winning and losing in a match like this, and despite being unaware of how far it is between them, he tries to land a hit because he just wouldn't let Magma win so easily. But try as he might, you know, when you can't properly judge the distance between yourself and your target, the odds of your attack not quite reaching the way you intend or of you overshooting is quite high, which is exactly what we witness here. And as a result, Magma has slammed Kinro into the ground, and it's at that moment that we reach the sort of turning point in this chapter where Suika becomes really important. What she does is what completely turns the tide for Kinro, as the balance of their fight is becoming far more even. You know, Magma is both physically capable and he doesn't suffer from blurry disease. Kinro too is physically capable, but because of his blurry disease, that does create an imbalance between them, and that is precisely why Kinro doing so well against Magma just goes to show you how good he is. Even without being able to see properly in the fight, he still doesn't get fodderized by Magma, and so when Suika comes up with her ingenious idea to actually lend Kinro her eyes of science, as she calls it, which is, as we know it, of course, glasses, things start to go a lot better. But because her glasses are stuck on her helmet, well, she kinda has to throw the whole thing to Kinro just for that extra chance that he will actually win. And once he puts that helmet on, well, let's just say things certainly changes for the better. And I do have to address the fact that Kinro wearing that helmet looks absolutely fucking ridiculous, to such an extent that even Ginro, Senku and Chrome can't really keep their composure when seeing it. They're just like, that just looks straight up wrong. Of course, that's just what he looks like. In exchange to that hideous appearance, he does pull some sick moves against Magma, to the point where Magma just cannot keep up. You know, he's completely overwhelmed. Kinro is just dodging every of Magma's attacks, and he keeps delivering his own attacks on top of it, which Magma fails to dodge as much as Kinro does, and eventually that becomes just too much for Magma, and he ends up taking an L by Kinro. And at the very end, we have this final panel of Kinro just looking down on Magma, which is my favorite panel in the chapter, as he's telling Magma, the one thing that's been holding me back is my blurry disease. As far as my strength goes, I surpassed you a long time ago. I absolutely loved when he said that to Magma. This chapter alone did make Kinro a better character for me personally, because he truly acknowledged Senku and everyone else properly. Now, he was already on their side before this fight, of course, but in the middle of his fight, he came to the realization that his friends are expecting him to not just fall over and at least try his best, even if that still isn't enough. The next chapter should be interesting, I hope. I expect the other matches will be done with less intensity than this one, and now that we know Magma is out of the picture, I hope we get a finale of Chrome versus Kinro. Of course, it wouldn't be the most fair match, but they both like Ruri as far as I know, so it'll be some emotional value, you know. Who's going to get the girl of their dreams? And I honestly do think Kinro will win, not just because he's stronger, but because we had that moment with Kohaku and Chrome before. Kohaku hinted that she does have feelings for Chrome, so were Kinro to win, it will be like two birds with one stone. You know, just let the romances flow. Not that I'm that into romances per se, but I don't mind having them as long as they don't interfere with the plot, which I don't think they will given how this story has been built up so far. And Senku is not really one of the characters that's being forced into a romance, which is also really good since he doesn't really seem to give a shit about anyone but himself and his science, which is why I really like him so much. Anyway, I'll be ending this review here. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, and if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new to my channel. This has been your favorite host, Perm, and I will see you next time.